I believed the entire world was in my hands. But my blood stole it from me. I lacked control, so I vowed to master it. In the silent ashes of the jihad, there are losses, and then there are humiliations, and the unnamed in her war had suffered both. Her army, a ghost, her treasury bled dry, and her followers taken captive by her nephew. And it was in moments of weakness like these, in the ashes, that another insult had arrived from her nephew on a piece of parchment. "Greetings, aunt. If you want your ghoul back, you will pay me my price." It was savage as she was thinking to herself. "He demands a ransom, this slug, this coward. He now demands I pay him once again for my ghoul. For the third time he has bested me. He stole my leadership through political maneuverings, and then he shattered my army, and now he blackmails me yet again, first for Ab and now my ghoul. This feeling of a lack of control, it is a poison that I will not suffer again." She would pay the ransom, of course, quickly, a bitter sting in her already draining coffers. As the messenger departs, her resolve would crystallize in her very essence. So my nephew cannot be defeated with armies, he cannot be defeated in court, but there is a power that can transcend both, and one that can turn this petite little duke into a puppet, an army into a mob. And I must seek and journey out and to dominate, for I've been weak, and I've relied on swords and schemes when I should have been mastering the mind, and this will be no more. I will learn it, and I will eventually unmake him from the inside out, and he will not feel pain, but will be stuffered into the mind of becoming my own slave. And this was the beginning of her quest, a long one indeed. The road was paved with many dangers, being a fugitive and hated by all in the region and the world itself. Her every move would be fraught with peril, and in this state she would see her head prior deliver his first report. And Ab, of course, being weary, but his intellect as sharp as ever, would delve into a location on the map. "My sire, while captive, I have learned much. There is a new power that is making its presence known even here. Themis, the master of a web of knives, has been campaigning a careful intimidation throughout Persia. He has assassins stationed everywhere, ensuring that princes and sultans are more attentive to his demands. But his true goals remain a mystery, and his methods are effective. A master of shadows, and he will be monitoring us." And then she thinks to herself, another predator, one who deals with fear and secrets, as I do. He is much too dangerous to confront and even more useful to ignore. I will stay out of his way, and I will watch, for he will be a fine teacher for one who seeks to dominate the world. And on the run and beset by powerful enemies, the unnamed would turn to the grim work of survival. And to fund her journey and her future studies, she would need to be a predator of sorts. And there would be a nice poetic justice in her new occupation of bounty hunting fugitives as a fugitive herself. She would eventually learn from the local authority that the Baroness Fusuela was looking for a particularly plague that was traveling throughout her lands. And for the unnamed, this was a nice chance to earn some coin and curry favor, and along with practicing her art of the hunt. And as she does and her thralls roaming through the pass, they would engage in a brutal skirmish and the target would be captured. He calls himself a wolf, but he does not understand the meaning of the word. He runs from a single baroness. I run from the princes of the world. What an amateur. She would stand before the baroness in a modest hall with the fugitive, and the one baroness would be very grateful. You have done what my guards could not. You are dangerous, but you are useful. And the rumors about you are troubling, but your actions speak for themselves. You have my gratitude, and I will be your patron. You will have sanctuary, and you will have work. And the unnamed would reply with, we are grateful for the opportunity. And of course, the unnamed, being despised by the world, would secure her foothold as becoming a predator for her own kind. And she would be a form hunter against all, not even just demons, but any. As a fugitive serving the law, she would lay out a perfect deception that would allow her to garner strength and nurse her order and begin this journey to master the mind of her enemies. A fugitive cannot survive on the run forever, and eventually they must turn the hostile world to their advantage and make their fearsome reputation a liability into an asset. And for the unnamed, she secured the patronage of Baroness Fusuela and had earned a brief respite. But this sanctuary was not a gift, it was at least a loan, and its price would be recalled. And the Baroness would vouch for the unnamed as a woman who could accomplish simple tasks, and now she intended to put that claim to the test. And we would open in the hall, and the unnamed would stand before the Baroness, and she would regard her with a calculating gaze and reply, your presence in my lands is at risk. Is a risk, unnamed? A risk I have taken because I believe you to be a solution. My friend, Duchess Habiba al-Sikin, has a problem. Pockets of dissidents, troublesome villages, a general air of defiance. It's a great opportunity for you. And as she plans on about the ongoing local issues of farmhands and local deities and all that, the unnamed thinks to herself as this job as a test for her. She would indebt me to a duchess. Yes, that is clever. And the offer, of course, is sound. As a fugitive, every road is a threat, every town a trap, and the populace does hate my very existence. But quelling corruption, it's not a question of good or evil, but the act of forcing the populace to fall in line. And by enforcing the Duchess's will, I will crush the very spirit that makes these lands so dangerous for me. They will learn to obey, and in doing so, they will learn not to trouble me. And the Baron would get to her final point. The Duchess offers a considerable sum, 900 gold. Bring her people to heel, and you will be very well compensated. You will have proven your value, and you will have earned your sanctuary. The unnamed would give a slow nod. We accept, she replies. But before this grand undertaking could begin, there will be a delicate matter of politics that will require her attention. And her head prior Ab al-Latif would bring news that would touch upon the very foundation of the Banu Hakim. My sire, the factions in the Alamut are in turmoil. The schisms have deepened, and now they debate the very nature of their founder, Hakim himself. As one of the oldest Canaanite alive, your opinion, or at least your feelings on the matter, carries a weight that could tip the scales, and you have been asked to give your insight. The unnamed would close her eyes, not searching for a memory, but for an echo, a feeling left behind in the ruins of her mind. Hakim, she thinks. The name is a shadow. I do not remember his face or his words, but I remember the feeling. Not the monster the heretics claim. I remember a presence of absolute chilling. A predator who's used laws as a spider used its webs. Cold and deadly. Hakim is the final judge of mankind's worth. Almost like the assassins of the Web of Knives. And she opens her eyes and replies, my insight will favor the Web of Knives. Let them gain the influence. Their methods are familiar to me. And of course, that single decision would be a stone into the great deep well of Canaanite politics, and its ripples would spread. But our focus now would return to the task at hand, the quelling of corruption. And it would be a grim act, of course, not a heroic crusade, but systematic oppression in the name of order. Nosteron and the thralls would break up the towns with lethal aggression, but not lethal force. And we could see moments of the unnamed, of course, dealing with dissidents, knocking them out, making herds. She would be surgically removing defiance. And as she would watch her followers intimidate village elders into renewing their fealty, she would think to herself, this is the true nature of control. Not the wild rage of the battlefield, but the quiet, inexorable pressure that makes a man betray his own beliefs. Every village that falls silent and every dissident that bends the knee makes this land safer for me, and their obedience will shield me from the Reconquista. And the Duchess's gold will be a sword I use for my true quest. And the campaign would succeed, and the lands would be pacified and brought to heel. And the unnamed would report once again to the Baroness of her success. And the Baron would have respect as he lauded over the chest of gold. The Duchess is pleased, she would say. Her lands are quiet for the first time in years, and you have done as promised. The gold is yours. And she had taken a land that had hated her and through a brutal campaign of forced obedience, made it safe, and the gold was a means to an end, and that end was now approaching closer than ever. And in the final moments, as she lies in her tent with the gold, Ab would enter. My sire, the task is complete. And with this gold, I have acquired all the necessary provisions. The maps have been cross-referenced, the safe havens bribed, and the supplies purchased. Our preparations are complete, and we are ready to depart for the journey north. And now the true lesson was about to begin. With her coffers full and purpose clear, the unnamed would turn her gaze to the north, and the quest she had sworn to undertake in a quest of vengeance was now a reality, and now long lay her a hellish pathway, a brutal pilgrimage that was hundreds of leagues over treacherous mountains. And this journey would be the ultimate test of her wills, and a trial that she would endure to gain the power to master the metaphysicals of the mind, and it was a price she was more than willing to pay. And the road was a merciless beast. They would climb through snow-choked mountain passes where they paid fees, and they fought off vicious bandits and tomb raiders that would test their mettle. And in this paradox that defined her very nature, the unnamed, a creature of infernal shadow, would be often seen moving towards fires, using her knowledge of the flame to protect her caravan from the spreading blazes. And even on the move, she would seek opportunity. She would hire famous commanders, a woman who would add another powerful sword to her glade and secure her party as she traveled. She would engage in mortal wars for free time to hone her own martial experience. And during these quiet moments, she would even master a new discipline called the Mask of Janus that will allow her to shift her identity and would serve her deceitful nature well for all manner of plots. And she would eventually reach her destination, a place far from the eyes of princes and kings. And here she would meet her teacher, an independent ghoul named Poulad. Not a great master or philosopher, but a creature born of spite. A former slave who had broken free from the blood bonds and now sold his master's most guarded secrets as a slow, deliberate revenge. Poulad was a wiry man with various eyes and would greet the unnamed, of course, cleverly disguised using the Mask of Janus. He would lead her to a quiet, secluded area and would begin the lessons. So, you seek to learn how to dominate the mind. It is the purest expression of the blood's power. It is not about clever words or brute force. It is about using your own will as a weapon to simply command another to do your bidding. He would go on and continue on with his teachings. The unnamed would study him, not as a teacher, but a key. And his hatred for his master makes him predictable. He will be a vessel for knowledge, and his thirst for revenge would be a crack that will allow her to pull it all out. He speaks of will. He is consumed by petty grievance. He thinks he is a renegade, but he is merely a tool for a new hand to wield him. The learning requires practice on actual subjects. You could dominate mortals, yes, but their minds are wet like clay, easy to shape. But they are so weak-willed you would need to command legions of them to truly learn anything of substance. Or you could try your powers on one of your own retainers. Their will is stronger, and the lesson would be very much faster, though they might not be appreciative of you using them as a test subject. The unnamed would listen tentfully and absorb the theory and the mechanics. She would feel the knowledge settle, and the pathway of the course of this discipline would open in her mind. She was confident that she would understand it enough to begin her own practice. But her new mentor would eventually insist that there will be one final crucial step. You understand the theory, but you cannot truly comprehend this power's effects until you have felt it yourself. You must be targeted by a dominate command to understand its violation and its change. It will be the final lesson, and allow me to demonstrate. Silence would reign, and a quiet sound would, of course, erupt. It will sound like a whip in her mind. He wants to put his will inside my mind, to leave his mark and to have a hook, a secret path back to my soul. And he sees this as a way to control me and to hold power over his new student. An underhanded, pathetic power play. This random cur thinks he can mess with my brain? Unacceptable. And of course her shy demeanor would full display in the moment. Her mask for the world does not crack, and she will look at Poulad with a gentle, apologetic refusal. And with a soft, regretful whisper, she would reply to him with, "That is a risk I am not willing to take, but I thank you for the knowledge you have shared. It's been invaluable." And she would give a subtle nod, an imperceptible signal from the shadows, and Nastaran and a pair of thralls would emerge, and Poulad's eyes would widen in shock, for he had fatally underestimated his student. And that would be the last you would hear of him. The unnamed had come seeking the ultimate tool of control, and like any good artisan, once she had the tool in hand, she had saw no more use for the bitter, broken vessel that delivered it. The end would be swift, and the renegade ghoul who would dream of grand revenge would die in a forgotten corner of the world, and his secrets would now belong to a greater predator. He is dead, so it wouldn't matter anyway. The unnamed would stand over his body, her face revealing nothing, for she has the knowledge. She would think to herself the lesson learned. True control is never given, it is taken. It is never, ever surrendered. She will be back with her caravan and make the long journey back. There will be a new stillness to her and a terrified confidence. She will begin this saga in a moment of humiliating weakness and will be forced to bow to her nephew. But she found new power that would ensure that it would never happen again. She had found her weapon. The student has surpassed the master, and the world, so full of unruly minds and wills, was now a fresh slate, waiting for her to write upon it with a power that could not be denied.